Hey, football fans, welcome back to another episode of Lions Latest, the show where we gather around to talk about the greatest team in the NFL, the Detroit Lions. I'm your host, Bryan Hanes. We have some great stuff to get into today, but before that, if you're not subscribed already, make sure you go down there right now. Go down there, hit subscribe, hit the bell so you never miss a single video. Everything means a ton. We're almost at 800 subscribers. If we could get that by the end of the week, I would absolutely freak out. You guys have been absolutely crazy, and we're almost there, so let's keep going. With that being said, though, let's jump straight into this video. Starting off, we're talking about the Goffense. I feel like that was a very fitting name for this title, right? Goffense was always known as the problem of our team. That was always the issue, right? Was the Goffense. No, we didn't have faith in Jared Goff, and over some time, the narrative has really flipped. You know, I think this season especially was kind of a interesting and important season for Goff, but not only Goff, the entire offense, as there were a lot of questions if it was going to be able to perform the same way without Ben Johnson behind the wheel. And after many outlets painted narratives about the offense taking that step back this season, there were worries about John Morton taking over in Ben Johnson's place, thinking that it was Ben Johnson's offense and Morton is going to have a lot of adjusting to do. Coach Campbell never played into those narratives, though. He continued to do what he's been doing since 2021, get better every day, learn from every experience, right? And Campbell's been proven right, at least through the 7 games this season. As we wrote last week, defensive coordinator Calvin Shepard is off to a pretty hot shot. He's doing really good. John Morton isn't too far behind, which is the expectation given the talent at his disposal and his familiarity with the offense, having been a senior offensive assistant back in 2022 during the Dan Campbell era. But how has the offense been doing so far? How's it stacked up? Well, some good numbers so far. Let's talk about it. The Lions rank 3rd in scoring offense with 30.7 points, 5th in yards per play at 5.9, 6th in EPA per play at 0.09, 7th on offensive success rate at 48.8%, and 9th in yards per game at 357.3. Pretty good numbers. They once again have to look of one of the league's best. We look like one of the league's best units, but what's really going into that, right? I think there's a lot. I think obviously our points per game could be higher. There have been you guys have been throwing some comments about how we haven't been dominating like we were last year despite our wins. But I think the way we're operating right now as a unit is really, really efficient. Coming into the season, there were talks about how Jared Goff would look without Ben Johnson in his ear. Goff's success has often been attributed to the play callers, right? Sean McVay, Ben Johnson, two of the best play callers in the league. However, this offense remains lethal right now. And while we haven't been crazy dominant like we were last year in some of those games, our offense has still been very, very reliable, and Goff has a lot to do with it, a ton to do with it. This season, Goff has thrown for 1,631 yards, 15 touchdowns, and just 3 interceptions through 3 games. It's a pretty good stat line. He's completing 74.9% of his pass attempts, which is 2nd in the league, with a passer rating of 116.4, which is 3rd in the league, and an EPA dropback of 0.22, which is 6th in the league. So he's top 10 in all these categories, top 3 in 2 of them. That makes him an elite quarterback right now. And if you're going to say, oh, it's because he doesn't have Ben Johnson now. He doesn't have Sean McVay now. He's doing it not on his own, give John Morton his flowers, but he's doing it without what people said were his crutches. And I think that's where he's coming in and getting more credit now. He's off to another strong start in an offense that maximizes his skill set, and Goff has taken ownership of his unit in his 10th NFL season. A lot of credit goes to Goff. His ability to make smart reads and accurate throws is such a good quality that so many fans take for granted, right? You assume you're in the NFL, you got to make that happen. I mean, but we're looking at some other quarterbacks in the league. I like my Raiders every once in a while, part-timer, of course, but Geno Smith, like, not accurate, doesn't make good reads. There's some issues right now with a whole bunch of other players just not making good reads, right? It's not been a good situation for the Browns necessarily, right? It's not been a good thing for the Dolphins. Tua can make the strong throw, but he doesn't always make the smartest reads. It's those two things, having good reads and a strong, accurate arm, really good together, obviously, right? But how about Goff's target distribution? Amon-Ra St. Brown, as you would imagine, has been the focal point of the offensive passing game. He has 50 receptions, which is fifth in the league for 538 yards, also fifth, and 7 receiving touchdowns, which is number 1 in the league. He's been targeted 61 times, which ranks 10th, and his reception rate of 82% ranks 6th among wide receivers. He's on his way to another All-Pro season as it stands right now, and I can only see him getting more and more productive as Jameson Williams really hasn't been as productive, right? If there's something to nitpick, though, it is Jameson Williams. He hasn't gotten the ball consistently. Williams has 2 or fewer receptions in 5 of his 7 games. His reception rate of 56.7% ranks 59th among 76 qualified receivers, and he's on pace for only 41 receptions for 702 yards and 5 touchdowns as of now, but that is always possible to change. Williams' impact, though, like you guys have mentioned, and I accept, his impact has gone beyond the box score. That will never change as long as all the parts are working together in the offense, right? He can continue to do his part there as long as everyone else is doing a good job. And Goff rarely even forces throws he doesn't like. So because of Williams' long speed and most of his routes are the go routes, of course, he's not going to get a ton of balls chucked to him, right? It'll be more of a boom or bust kind of play to it. That said, it is on Morton to dial up more opportunities for JMO. That doesn't necessarily mean just deep shots, right? And time in the pocket. How well has the pass protection held up? Speaking of time in the pocket, well, first I want to say it's kind of odd that JMO has been getting kind of less attention because there was a huge talk about how he was going to be really a more pivotal point of the offense this year from our offensive coordinator. It's just kind of odd that he's only getting like go routes and stuff like that. But okay, right. The pass protection. So how has that been? Has that had an impact to why JMO hasn't been getting these balls? The Lions have allowed the 9th lowest pressure rate at 33.9%. They've allowed the 12th fewest sacks per game, and their sack rate of 6% ranks 15th. Those numbers are better when left tackle Taylor Decker is in, but he's been nursing that shoulder injury. The Lions rank top 10 in sacks per game, allowed 9th, and sack rate 10th when Decker plays. So having Decker back is obviously good, but we're developing Giovanni Manu right now in case that shoulder does become his undoing. We're just gonna have to wait and see. But that's what I got for you guys right now on the offense. I think, honestly, people are way too critical of Goff. I think he's doing a great job. And while he has some missed passes here or there, his ability to take care of the ball and be accurate is just awesome. And it's what we need on this offense. That's going to take us to our second topic, just some current needs right now and whether or not we can really go and get them. Starting with a corner. And my question is, do we still need to shop for a cornerback right now? According to Adam Scheffler, the Titans are entertaining trade calls for tight end Chigo Okonkwo, cornerback Roger McCreary, and outside linebacker Arden Key ahead of the trade deadline for next week. While we have mentioned Arden Key on the show before, Roger McCreary is a new name and a possible fit for the secondary. In his time with Tennessee since 2022, he has recorded 253 tackles, 4 sacks, a forced fumble, and 3 interceptions. A good starter, especially as a slot cornerback, known for his run defense, tackling ability, and talent at the catch point. Sounds great. Sounds like our kind of guy, right? Despite a rocky start as a rookie in 2022, he has really developed into an above average and really underrated defender after settling back into the nickel role. He earned first team All-American honors in college at Auburn and has been a key contributor since being drafted. He's allowed only 1 touchdown from the nickel position in recent seasons, despite being frequently targeted, which is another thing to consider. He stops touchdowns and he makes great plays in open space. That's his big thing. And that shuts down explosive plays. So he's basically anti-explosive play. It could really help if we brought him into the nickel if we are going to end up moving Amik outside long term with Terrion Arnold's situation going on. But the question is, do we need a cornerback right now? That was a need a couple weeks ago, but have things changed? The Legion of Whom definitely showed up big for us last Monday night against the Bucks, and we are expected to get Arnold back and DJ Reed back in the next couple of weeks. So do we risk the lack of depth and rely on our backup guys? Well, McCreary is playing on the final year of his contract right now, and the Lions would need to decide whether to extend him or risk leaving him in the free agency where anyone could just go and pick him up. The Titans will probably want a mid to a little high mid-round pick for him, which is then we have to consider what do we want for our draft, and do we need a depth guy for a mid-round pick? That's the big thing to consider here. I'm kind of torn on this one. I don't think we don't necessarily need a corner right now. We saw what the backups could do and they performed pretty well, but keep in mind it was against a shattered passing offense, right? A lot of receivers were out. You got to take it into consideration if we want to make that big move just to be safe, but then that can ultimately kind of screw us next season when we need to draft and we're down a pick, right? There's a lot to go into it. I'm not really sure, but it could be a good potential pickup. And the next one I want to talk about is grabbing a serviceable edge rusher even possible right now because of where we're at, because we still need to pay Hutch. What does it look like to get an edge rusher? There are potential trade targets like Arden Key or Jalen Phillips that we've already discussed on the channel, but we are prioritizing a long-term extension with our own starter right now, Aiden Hutchinson. So the team has over $25 million in cap space, and that's going to allow them to make a move for a veteran like Trey Hendrickson. But the Bengals signed a new quarterback in Joe Flacco, and even though they somehow lost to the Jets, I don't even know how they managed to do that, which makes me think they aren't ready to part ways yet, right? If you're going to go sign a quarterback, you're obviously like, nope, we're staying in the season. I don't think they'd want to get rid of their own, like, one of their only good defensive players right now, unless they want to completely dismantle the team and start over. We will probably need to be going for a cheaper guy, but it is worth paying them, or rather, is it worth paying them if we aren't sure they can be productive week one on the team, right? We're going to want them in the immediate rotation, and if we're paying a guy who's just a backup, I'm not sure if that's even worth the trouble of going and signing someone else to the team. You guys let me know what you think about that, though. That's going to take us to our third topic, just the power of Hutch and Aleem together. You guys said some comments about them being back together and threw some stats at me. I thought it was definitely worth taking a bigger look in because of how powerful they are when we have them together. So we recently got back Aleem McNeil from the injury reserve list. He was dealing with an ACL injury, and him, along with Aiden Hutchinson, they've been great already in that one game, and I know it's only going to get better. Aiden Hutchinson collapses the pocket from the edge while Aleem McNeil pushes it from the middle. It creates a lot of good one-on-one opportunities, and it definitely makes the quarterback have to think faster. This pairing has helped the defensive become more disruptive and effective, leading to a better pass rush overall and a better run defense. The Detroit Lions defense had 10 sacks in the first 5 games that Aiden Hutchinson and Aleem McNeil played together in the 2024 season. This combination of players was highly effective, as you can tell from the stat, but unfortunately we know Hutch had that leg injury. Aleem got injured later in the season. It wasn't our season defensively, but according to Dan Campbell, Aleem McNeil is actually not in football shape yet. He's getting back to football shape right now. Even though he played great against the Bucs, we're going to see a better and more prime Aleem McNeil soon. And I think the bye week being now is just what we needed to give him time to put on that extra muscle, give him a little extra time to get back in that shape. He couldn't have come back at a better time. Having him and Hutch back helps the secondary immensely as well, providing an elite and sustained pass rush that doesn't just happen a couple plays and disappear. It happens every play, not to the same intensity, but it's consistent. Aleem McNeil and Aiden Hutchinson shorten the amount of time the secondary has to cover their receivers, collapsing the pocket from both the interior and the edge. They force the quarterback to rush throws and make mistakes. What do mistakes do? Creates more opportunities for the secondary. It forces the quarterback to get rid of the ball faster. Often that'll make the receivers not finish their routes. This allows the secondary to play more aggressive because they know they won't be covering their assignments for 10, 15 seconds. This ultimately ends up creating turnovers for us. Hutchinson's presence on the edge forces offensive line to dedicate extra blockers to him. So even when he's chipped or double teamed, he's still making pressures happen. That's what being an elite edge rusher is. But because now Aleem McNeil is back, if it is allowing those one-on-ones, you better know Aleem McNeil is going to eat because of what he does. His elite power and his quickness, his footwork is insane on an interior lineman spot, and that really poses a unique challenge for offensive linemen, especially younger ones, and it can be extremely disruptive to a quarterback as the game goes on. So I'm really excited. I think it's already been noticeable from that one game what he's doing being back, and I'm excited to see where the rest of the season goes. You guys let me know what you think, though. Tell me what you guys think about Aleem McNeil. Are you excited to have him back, and what's the most exciting part about having those two together? And I'll take us over to just a couple comments. These comments are a little different than normal. It's just you guys asking me some questions. I'm just going to respond to you guys. First, Creel del Perrier think that's how you pronounce it, asks what's happening with Ahmed Hassanin. Well, his father actually comments every once in a while and has been giving us some updates, and he's getting a lot better. And I would almost say he's almost back. The Lions did waive him with an injury settlement on August 26th, which was a strategic move to free up a roster spot instead of placing him on our injury reserve. The Lions do expect him to be back with the team later in the season after a settlement period and a mandatory waiting period are complete. So there is the worry he goes into free agency and anyone can grab him, but me and the rest of the Lions organization have a strong feeling he will be a Lion before the end of the season. He recently updated people online showing videos of him doing a bench press, and that just shows that his pec injury is pretty good if you're going to start bench pressing. General Manager Brad Holmes also stated that Hassanin, quote, is going to be a Detroit Lion and, quote, will be back on the football field playing this year. So if you don't believe me, take it from the guy who runs the entire organization. I think it's really exciting, and I think my opinions on him. I think he's a dog. He's one of my favorites, so it'd be really cool to have him back, and I'm excited to watch him eat. Thank you so much for your comment. Next, Trey77 says, I didn't know Jeffrey Okudah was playing cornerback for the Vikings. I'd only seen him when he was on the ground and blew that play. Kind of curious as to who Okudah will cover. Not that I'm worried about him at all. You got to put him on the list of the top biggest bust players from 2000 on, considering he was a 3rd overall pick. I totally forgot about that. Who do we currently have signed at defensive tackle past the season other than T. Williams? All right, well, first, Okudah signed with the Vikings in March of this year, so he hasn't been on the team he's been on the team for less than a year. So I don't blame you for not knowing that, but I also forgot he was a 3rd overall pick. Jeez Louise. In terms of defensive tackles, we have Lee McNeil signed through 2028. DJ Reader's contract is up at the end of this year, and then we have Roy Lopez. I think he's one of our backup guys. I'm pretty sure we also have him signed through the rest of this year. So another good point. We definitely could use some more defensive tackles in that needs category. Where's that current needs? Right there. Yeah, that one. So that could be another thing we need to start looking for. Really good point. I think that'll definitely be addressed in the draft. Thank you for your comment. With that being said, we are out of time today. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Lions Latest. If you made it to this point in the video, tell me right now what you guys think about these possible needs and what are the big ones right now and who are some people you would like to see thrown around the conversation. Definitely helps when I go to do these kind of topics. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell so you never, ever miss a single video here. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you in the next video.